Good afternoon, everybody. Hope you guys are doing well. It is a bit of a slow news day for the Seahawks today so far. Not a lot going on. I know today is the final practice session at the VMAC that is open to the public, so I'll have some things to say later today. But as of right now, what I want to talk about concerns a division rival. I guess you could call them the key division rival because the other two teams figured to not have good seasons. The one division rival that is expected to be good this year, I'm talking about the San Francisco 49ers. Yeah, I want to talk about them for a little bit in this video because there's some stuff brewing down in San Francisco right now with this team. There's some stuff going on that I think is starting to perturb and alarm Niners fans, and there may be an opportunity presented here that I didn't think was going to be there because I have been pretty adamant so far this offseason that we are not yet caught up to where the 49ers are. We are not there with them. We may be a good team. We may be a playoff team in the NFC West. I think all those things are true, but I have been pretty adamant that we are not as good as the Niners yet. I think that we haven't made up that gap where they beat us 3 times last year fairly decisively, where they won the division by a pretty decent amount, where they were just a better team. I didn't believe that we had made up that deficit. And as things are starting to roll around in San Francisco, it's starting to seem like there's a little bit of a path. There might be a little bit of a path to us leapfrogging the 49ers even without a major acquisition before the season starts. There are some people out there who have said, hey, if the Seattle Seahawks trade for Chris Jones, then they're going to be better than the Niners. That's the missing piece that will allow them to win the division. Or maybe Wilkins down in Miami, if you're looking a little bit lower than somebody like a Chris Jones, but somebody who is really good who you could trade for. A lot of people think we're one piece away. I have pushed back on that a little bit. I didn't feel like we were one piece away. Now I'm wondering if things continue to go the way that they're going in San Fran. Maybe we're not even one piece away. Maybe we're 0 pieces away. Maybe we're there. I don't know. Now, first of all, let me just lead off by saying I'm not really saying anything about the Niners defense. I think that Niners defense will be one of the 3 best defenses in the league this year. Probably the best. Maybe not in terms of result, but in terms of actual effectiveness. I think that Niners defense is probably the best defense in the league. So I'm not really talking about those guys. Those guys, they're great. Got to take care of Bosa, of course, but I'm sure they will. I'm talking about this offense. This offense that, despite having one of the mega geniuses of recent NFL history at head coach, despite having one of the brightest offensive minds that I've seen over the last decade plus in the NFL. They can't find their footing. They can't find their traction. They can't get him the Matt Ryan. They can't get him his Matt Ryan that he had in Atlanta. Mainly, it has to do with the quarterback position, although I do want to stress there are other things going on with that offense that are worth keeping an eye on. Trent Williams is 35. He turned 35 last month. He's getting up there. And you look at their offensive line. You go to Frisco's depth chart. You look at that offensive line. They are betting pretty much everything on Trent Williams. Everything else on this offensive line could go one way or the other. Aaron Banks, Jake Brendel, Spencer Burford. It's like a very middling interior offensive line. And then you've got Colton McKivitz, their new right tackle. Literally, who is that? I don't even know. But that offensive line, say what you will about Mike McGlinchey, he was a good all-around player for them. He just struggled in certain areas, but he was a good player, and they really did nothing to replace him of any real consequence this offseason. So that is an offensive line that is basically one superstar who is 35 years old and then not really a whole lot else. Now, a really good play caller like Shanahan can overcome that if he has a quarterback. But you have to wonder, does he have that quarterback? So We've got this from Dove Kleeman on Twitter, and this comes from Lombardi himself, who is one of the Niners beat reporters. Brock Purdy has not had a very good training camp so far. He has thrown 10 interceptions in training camp so far. He had 2 today, with 1 that was dropped, which would have been number 11. And generally speaking, he has been very up and down so far in training camp, according to the people who watch these sessions. Now, under certain circumstances, I would just kind of blow it off. I wouldn't think much of interceptions in training camp. For the most part, quarterbacks and offenses in general will do things they're not really supposed to do in training camp so they can practice it for the games. They try things out knowing that some of it's not going to work and it's going to result in turnovers, and they're like, well, it's okay. It's not a real game. We want to figure this stuff out for a game. But here's the thing. It's Brock Purdy. He was Mr. Irrelevant for a reason. If there was ever a quarterback who may have just had a flash-in-the-pan season, it's this guy. I've been pretty adamant throughout this entire Brock Purdy thing. Even last season when he was on top of the world, winning games, playing really well, I don't think he's good. And after the injury he had last year, which you can't tell me he's 100% back like the injury never happened now. That injury happened in late January. It's not that long ago. So you put it all together, you combine the fact that he himself is a very limited quarterback, and you combine that with the fact that he's coming off this injury. He's coming off this season where everything just went right for him when defenses weren't really prepared for him. There's a long history of players doing really well for a short period of time when there's limited game tape, when there's a limited understanding of how they're going to be utilized, there's a limited understanding of strengths and weaknesses. There is an extensive history of players succeeding in those circumstances who fade very fast. So you put it all together, and Brock Purdy, who is supposedly number 1 on the depth chart right now, seems to me to be primed for a season where he crashes back to earth. Mike Ford style. My Mariners fans in the comment section will understand that one. But that's the idea. You succeed for a little while. You're an unknown. People don't really understand what you're about. People don't really understand what you're going to be doing. They build up some tape on you. They build up some experience on you. They start to solve you. They figure you out. Are you able to answer what they do when they start to solve you? And Brock Purdy, being a player of very limited ability, limited talent, may not have that. He doesn't have an arm even on a good day. But after that injury he had last year, his arm might be even weaker. I don't know. And it seems like he's most of the way back. You can't tell me he's all the way back. So there's something going on here with Brock Purdy. And this strikes me as a very, very good candidate for massive 2023 regression. And that gets you to the other quarterback who's kind of interesting on this roster, Trey Lance. Now, he had that preseason game last week where the numbers were okay, but he got sacked a lot, he got hit a lot, he made some bad decisions, he made some bad throws. The touchdown he threw was horrific, terrible throw, complete fluke that it was completed for a touchdown. And while there continues to be some level of intrigue around Trey Lance because he is pure raw talent, I think there are quite a few people out there who are starting to realize that this is just never going to work in San Fran with Shanahan. Trey Lance doesn't fit Shanahan's offense. Shanahan didn't want him in the first place, and it seems like things are really heading in that direction. So Trey Lance, by far the most talented quarterback in that quarterback room, just doesn't fit what the Niners are doing. And this is kind of what I was talking about. The Niners, going into this season, may have a lackluster offensive line. A lackluster offensive line can be overcome with a smart coach and a smart quarterback. Niners definitely have the smart coach thing down. I don't doubt Shanahan's play calling abilities. I don't doubt his scheme and his ability to call a game. He's as good as it gets out there. But can Trey Lance run that offense effectively? It seemed like Purdy could. Purdy is a guy who seems to understand his limitations, get the ball out quickly, understand that he's not going to be making big plays down the field all the time. He's got to just take what's there. He's just got to be accurate on short stuff. But if he's already turning into a pumpkin and now you're looking to Trey Lance, you might just say, that's just not his game. You got to put him in a different kind of offense to suit his skill set. And you're definitely starting to see a lot of people in the media, and you're starting to see a lot of the analysts and pundits starting to think that this is officially DOA. And I suspect that is probably the case as well. I still like Trey Lance. I still think he can be good, but it doesn't seem like it's going to happen in this system, which makes it all the worse that the Niners actually picked him. I feel like looking back at it now, it's so obvious that Shanahan didn't want him. He wanted Mac Jones, maybe Justin Fields, but probably Mac Jones. And John Lynch stepped in and said, we're not doing that. We're not taking Mac Jones. People are going to make fun of me. I can't have that. You're taking Trey Lance. Deal with it. And Shanahan got this quarterback that he didn't really want. That seems like that's what's happened here. So if it's not those two guys, then the Niners have a big problem, because it's going to be one of these two guys starting at first, I have to believe. Probably Purdy, but I got to believe one of those two guys is starting to start the season. And if they don't get it done, that is a number of losses the Niners are going to have to eat while they figure this out. Maybe they eventually land on Sam Darnold, who just got there and isn't getting a full offseason because the Niners, for some reason, are insistent on giving all four of their quarterbacks equal reps for some reason. Even Brandon Allen is getting reps like he actually has a chance to win something. Darnold may end up being the best they can do. He's just somebody who can kind of manage the game. He's somebody who can just kind of hold it down and maybe avoid turnovers by running the ball a lot and just kind of be serviceable. But how long will it take for them to get to him? And by the way, Sam Darnold, not exactly the guy you pick to avoid turnovers. He's got even when he was at USC, he was a turnover-prone guy. So even on that level, if you're trying to use him as a game manager, it may work okay, but it probably won't work great. So that's basically it. It's Brock Purdy, Trey Lance, Sam Darnold. They got to figure out which one of those guys is going to work the best, and then they have to hope that guy works out good. And the first part's going to take time. That second part may not happen at all. It's really starting to feel like, and I can't believe I'm saying this, Darnold is their best bet, and there's a low ceiling on a Sam Darnold offense, even with Shanahan. And by the way, while we're here, Christian McCaffrey, a walking injury risk, somehow stayed healthy last year. What are his odds of getting through this season in 2023? What are the odds of him playing even 14 games? Can't love that. Debo didn't have a very good year last year. So there are some real dents in this offense now. And you put it all together, this could be a down season for them. It could be a down season to the point where their defense, which again I think will be elite, one of the best defenses out there, may not be good enough for the Niners to win enough games to win the division. I said a couple months ago I think the Seahawks are going to win 11 games. I had the Niners at 12. If this quarterback thing really doesn't pan itself out, if they can't figure this out and it costs them some games, there's not a big gap there, right? It's just one win. And we obviously play them twice. We got two opportunities to do it personally. There's still a lot to like on this Niners team. There's still some stuff to like on this Niners offense, but there's starting to be some real problems manifesting itself. This quarterback thing just cannot get solved. I'm not seeing any resolution based off the preseason and training camp. They've got injury concerns at running back and receiver. They've got offensive line concerns just in general. Something could be brewing here. Could be a down year for these Niners. So let me know what you guys think down below. That's just kind of what I wanted to talk about today. Something really going on here in Frisco that I didn't expect. Now, granted, when Brock Purdy got hurt last season, I knew that there was going to be it was going to be a little bumpy, but I thought that Trey Lance was going to step up and at least assert himself as the best man for the job. So far, it seems like he can't even do that. And that's really opened the door for this season to be a mess for San Fran. See you guys later. I'll make a video later today about the practice session at the VMAC. Twitch probably later. Go Hawks.